girl. And at that time, the only way to get from there to there was Hopkinton Road. And apparently Hopkinton Road was nothing but ruts and mud most of the year. And George had a nice car. He drove like a Cadillac, of course. He was from a wealthy family. But because of that road, he would carry a trunk load of tires on rims. And it would weight the back of that car down like this. There's a complete affidavit over there, court records, everything, about how Herbert Bagley was sure he was carrying moonshine. And one day, he got the state police to pull him over along Hopkinton Road on suspicion of carrying moonshine. And the state police officer said, "Open your trunk." And George says, "I'm not opening my trunk." He didn't realize George was an alderman. He's a smart cookie from Newton Highlands. He says, "I'm not opening my trunk. You don't have a warrant. Open the trunk." "I'm not opening my trunk." "Open the trunk." And George said to him, "So you think I'm carrying moonshine? If I open that trunk and there's a bunch of tires in there, I'm going to report you to the registrar of motor vehicles. Open the trunk." George opened the trunk. There was a bunch of tires on rims. And just the beginning of an inquisition happened with notice coming down from the registrar of motor vehicles. So. At a Klan gathering on Hopkinton Road, Chief Crooker was forced to call in assistance of the state police, there being over 300 persons in attendance. The Klan felled trees to block the roads. Dan Bates was first appointed a police officer in 1916 and served as a constable from 1919 to 1965 when he retired. In 1927, he was appointed acting police chief. And it was not until 17 years later that he was appointed permanent police chief. Peter Robeson was his principal patrolman. Robeson used his personal automobile to patrol the town. The town reimbursed his gasoline, but not a dime for his vehicle expense. In 1930, 21 visits were made to local dance halls, and ironically, 21 motor vehicle accidents happened that year. 38 persons were arrested during 1930. Dan lived on Main Street, and if he received an emergency call via telephone, he would turn on the porch light of his home to signal the on-duty weekend patrol officer to stop in because there was a call to go on. There were no radios. One of Dan's happiest moments came with the amazing success with expert police work in dealing with a 3-year-old who went missing from her home on West River Street. The year was 1937, and it was a cold April afternoon when Winona Nelson wandered away from her home. Thus began one of the nation's most intense and trying search and rescue missions. The press picked up the story quickly, and before long, hundreds of volunteers arrived to assist in the search. It was over a period of 4 days. The state police wrongly accused my future stepdad of kidnapping the girl because he was a neighbor and he was the last one to see her. That's Eddie Wadsworth. He was really kind of overwhelmed by that for his entire life. He could not stop talking about it. 80 men from the nearby Conservation Corps camp responded. Radio station WTAG sent broadcasts and updates of the daily efforts. Deputy Sheriff Higgins and his companion Donald Bullard, both of Barre, Massachusetts, discovered the little girl hidden in scrub brush near the Osterman farm way over in Northbridge. At first, they thought that she had passed, so they covered her with their coats. The warmth of the coats caused her to whimper. She was alive. She was taken to the Osterman home, and when word reached Governor Henley, he ordered the best physicians in the state dispatched to aid her. She remained in poor condition for many days, suffering from frostbite and pneumonia. She was nicknamed nationally as the Babe in the Woods. Winona Nelson Bouthiet, or Noni, as she was affectionately known, lived a long and giving life. She lived on Church Street, and she lived a good long life. Fatso was her nickname. Her license plate said Red Fatso, F-A-T-S-O. 7 Colt .38 Specials and 1 Smith & Wesson .22 revolver were purchased in 1950 at a cost of $50 each. The annual operating budget was $1,500. Cruiser mileage that year was 4,140 miles, all given by private auto. Dan Bates received a salary of $420 a year, or $35 a month. That's Dan Bates' personal car in around 1954. They put police on it. They assigned them a flashlight that they would hold out the window, light it up, stop police. And beyond that, they issued this door sign which hung from the driver's door. It laps over like when you go to the drive-in restaurant. In 1957, the town purchased its first police cruiser. I don't have a picture of it here. It was a 1957 Ford Fairlane. Eugene Clausen was appointed the first deputy police chief. Also serving were Eddie Rock, Fred Shackleton, Arthur LeClaire, and Ormond Bates. But the Bates owned the police department? Shackleton became a well-recognized figure as he patrolled the streets of West Upton brandishing dual waist-mounted, pearl-handled revolvers, earning him the nickname Two-Gun Shackleton. You remember those days, Nancy? Yeah. In 1965, Dan Bates retired and was replaced by hard-nosed Rudolph Rudy Scholl, who, you know what? When I met him, near 90 years old, he came and visited the fire station one day. He wasn't hard-nosed at all. He was a nice guy. But Phil McClure recently told me, he lived near him, he said, I had to really behave myself coming home because Rudy was my neighbor. His staff included Richard Pond, Rodney Marchand, James Seitz, and the first appointed female officer, Dorothy Dot Bishop. David Aldrich, Eddie Orff, Tommy Kozel, Billy Evans Jr., and Ralph Montenegro also served as part-time patrolmen. And I regretfully do not have Mort on here. Mort, oh, he wasn't there yet. Okay. He was 66. Oh, see? Whew. Marchand had chosen to move to Upton after an afternoon of riding motorcycle through Worcester County in 1959, landing, as he once told me, in the nicest little town he had ever seen. This is for Barry. The brand new hey! It's like that dog over there. Okay, Barry. Oh, go to the next. That's like comedy. He says, go to the next thing. I go to the next thing. It goes back to the siren. Sorry about that. This is Bobby Otten. How many of you remember Bobby Otten? He did a lot of hours. The 1960s were a difficult time culturally, and psychedelic drugs being prevalent anti-war sentiment thriving and vivacious, and successive national negative stories, such as the assassinations of John, Bobby, and Martin. Chief Scholl requested and was funded a full-time sergeant's position. James B. Seitz was appointed. So he was the first police officer outside of Dan to be appointed. The first police station was constructed in the basement of the town hall in 1965. The lockup had been located there since 1884. The first portable radio was purchased in 1967. And that same year, Rodney B. Marchand replaced Seitz as the sergeant. In 1969, Chief Scholl took a permanent leave of absence, and Rod Marchand was duly appointed chief. Sam Aldrich took Rod's vacated sergeant's position. New appointees included Ralph Chambers, Mary Aldrich, and Stuart Whitney. Marchand served the town for over 20 years. In his later years, despite losing part of a foot to diabetes, continued doing road details simply because he loved the work. Marchand was replaced by Stuart Whitney. Marchand had assigned me as the department's photographer, and I performed this task for 10 years. I was assigned to an investigation of a murder on Chestnut Street, where a young Milford woman was found in a shallow grave on the open Trask property. Trask had come upon the body on his regular property works, finding the woman's purse near where the body had been discovered. On another occasion, while I was on duty as a full-time firefighter EMT fire inspector, I responded to a call for a despondent woman at Millhouse Apartments. Sergeant Ralph Chambers met me on the floor outside of the elevators in D building. As we walked along the long hallway, an apartment door flung open, and out came the woman holding a loaded .38. She swung left and pointed the gun towards Ralph. Ralph instinctively did not shoot her, instead diving low and tackling her around her waist, the gun spilling off down the hallway, where I managed to secure it as the two struggled on the floor. Now, this is the end of the narrative that I wrote in 1990. I wrote it for Barbara Burke. She was going to produce history of the Upton Police Department at that time, but it never happened. So I'm a little thin on the later years, and I do apologize for that. But they'll be written someday. Rod Marchand, with Michael Dukakis running for governor in 1985 outside the Senior Center in West Upton. Here's the old dispatch. Downstairs, Upton Town Hall. This is kind of a funny. I was making a movie for Mike Marchand. He was getting married. So it's Barbara taking a false call and dispatching it to Rod Marchand. I hope the sound is okay.
Okay, Patty, I'll see what I can do. Calling all cars. Be on the lookout for a 10-ton fire department tanker called Mighty Mac. Last seen headed west on Route 140 towards New York. Subject described as big, green, and mean.
That's Mike Marchand.
The alias, Big Mike. If found, do not apprehend. He may be carrying 2 spanners and an axe.
This is 1984. Car 12.
Car 54, 10-4. I'll look out for him like he was my own son.
This was Paul. Paul's favorite shot was the cruiser. Look at those bubble lights, huh? Robert Bob Miller was appointed chief in 1989. He was the first to be appointed who did not already reside in town.